What's on the menu today, you ask? Well, it's time for Gorilla's Prime. First thing we always do is get the Morning Star. It's right here, Gorilla's Prime. Yesterday, I had an order curbside for 6 grams of sativa. This is what these things look like, these cartridges. I mean, this thing's called Dosage. This is the one I have been using. You can see right here. Here's what it looks like when you take it out of the container, the thing. And here we go over here. Got this plugged in. See, this plugs in the battery. This is the battery that powers it. Plugs in with a USB thing. Unscrew this. This screws to this. Okay. Now, right here, you screw this on. You don't need to do it too tight. Made that mistake before, and just kind of get it on there. Right there. See? Okay, let's hopefully this is gonna work. Here's the first mask I had. Look at this bad boy. I moved to Hollywood in August of 2008. I was living right on Hollywood Boulevard at Wilcox. This was the first Iron Man mask I used. See this? I had a whole costume. It was like $500. I found it on eBay, and this guy happened to live right outside of LA, and I drove out and got it. It was a whole plastic suit that was about $500. This is the helmet. You see, this was really cheap, but I had to suffer with this for 5 years before I got this suit, the nice one, in 2013. And it was like May of 2013 when I finally got it. But it's pretty funny to look back on this thing. Now these chicken things, they come in packs of 8. These are huge, 8 of them. Look at these. Here's what it looks like when you take it out of the package. First thing I'm going to do is hit it 30 seconds on one side. I wanted to talk about a very special album I released in 1992 on cassette only. This was right before everything changed to CDs. And I don't even know how many of these I made, 500, maybe 1,000, but wouldn't you like to have one of these? These are rare. Okay, what got me thinking about this is my guitar player, Brian Hurley, has been on me about this song, Say Hallelujah. See, let me show you here. I want to talk about where this whole thing began. In 1983, I met Brian Hurley at Showbiz Pizza in Dallas. I was playing a video game and he walked up to me and asked if I played guitar. You see, I had a friend named, we both went to school at Lake Highlands. We were sophomores. I had another friend named Kelly Crane that had come over and seen me play guitar, and he spread the word at school a little bit, and I think that's where Brian found out. But after we met at Showbiz Pizza, we started Romeo and the Dreamers in like 1984. And let me show you some pictures from this. This was a dance in 1985 that we're all together at Lake Highlands. See this right here? That's an epic shot. It says this was the Celebrity Ball. Whatever that is, okay. Right there. Okay, see, look at some of these early flyers. They're so great. I mean, Theater Gallery, Romeo and the Dreamers, other photos we took down there. Okay, this was an incredible moment. We did a show with the Nelsons in 1986, and this was featured on the cover of the Arts and Entertainment for Dallas Morning News. This was, I mean, look right here. Two sides of Texas rock and roll. I don't know if you guys remember the Nelsons, but that's a picture of us right in front of Arcadia Theater. And that was great. Here's the flyer. And you can see the picture of the Nelsons. That's the Nelsons right there. Here's the flyer. Arcadia Theater. Said it was $7. I think we had a problem that night because the Nelsons had so many people on the guest list. A lot of people got in free. We had trouble keeping that. I don't think we made any money on that show. So right there, you see that. Okay. Oh, right here. Here's another flyer I want to show you. That's so cool. Do you remember, does anybody remember Suds that was down on Greenville, the washing place, and they also had bands playing there, but here's a flyer. I mean, we used to pack that parking lot on some of those shows. It was really good. Suds, February 28th, that's the date right there. Okay, I just wanted to show you that Romeo and the Dreamers. Romeo and the Dreamers lasted from like 1984 until 1987, and then me and Brian went our separate ways. He formed a band called Interfaith, and I formed a band called Shame. Today I want to take you back to the origins of the classic song Mailman by Dirty Crabber. Now, I've already shown you the Dirty Crabber White album. You guys remember that, right? Today, I present to you the Dirty Crabber Black album. Look at this one. Any avid record collector better have this if he wants any kind of respect. Look at this, how cool this is. This thing, I did about 1,000 of these. I think I did another pressing of 500, so it probably was a total of 1,500. Back in 1993, these were dispersed into Dallas, and then I mailed them out all over the world, so I don't even know where all these things are, but this is an incredible classic album that you gotta have. Right here you can see inside, it has all kind of liner notes that describe what's going on. And then let's go to the back of this thing. The back is a drawing of me in my turban. That's how I looked some of the time on stage. I had other outfits, but that was one of my main things when I ran out the beginning, was in the turban. You can see the song listing there. Now, see the vest right there that I wore as the Crabber? I brought out some of the original vest. Now, when we started in 1991, this was the first one. My mom made these for me. But look at this. This is the original first Crabber. You could see this in the original Mailman video that came out in 91. But look at that. Okay. now let me go over here and grab the one that I got later after this. My mom made me another one. This is the one my mom made me later. Look how nice this baby is. This needs to be in the Smithsonian Institute after I die. I mean, look at the classic crabber vest. See, this crab comes off. That's what with the Velcro. Look at that. How cool that is. Chad was the bass player. Here, right here, you can see a little bit. Chad was the bass player. He sang harmonies with me and helped me write the Dirty Crabber music. So when you guys listen to this stuff, it helps his spirit lives on. It's a beautiful thing when you hear the Dirty Crabber music. And we also, from 87 to 90, we played in this band. This is called Shame. I haven't even got into this. This band has a whole nother type of music I'm gonna have to play for you guys and tell you the story. But this was Shame. Look at us together here. That was like 1988, I think. This picture was probably taken. But this is the whole band, Shame. These are other guys. Robbie, though, the drummer, he played in Dirty Crabber and Romy and the Dreamers, and Sammy played in Romy and the Dreamers. But Charles was a member that was just, the guy in the middle there, keyboards, and he lives in England now. He's like a sound man and producer and recorder. He records people, and he even was the sound man for like OMD for a while, and probably still is if they ever get back on the road again. But look at that epic shot, Shame. We'll get into that sometime later. I just knew this was one of those moments where I had to, leave my comfort zone and do something and take a chance. So when the next week came, the next Monday was June 10th, 2013. And that was the day I knew there was no turning back. And I was so nervous that whole day, June 10th on a Monday, 2013. It's just funny to think, if we ever do the movie about the Kill Tony store, it's just going to be so funny to see me, what I was going through that day and what they were going through. Because Brian and Tony, see, they had started a show called it was called Hinchcliffe's Notes. And they had started it on June 3rd. That's what's so mystical about this story is the first episode of Hinchcliffe's Notes, which became Kill Tony, was on June 3rd, and I had set up in my mind. See, I thought Red Band was still doing the Death Squad secret show. I didn't know he did this new deal with Tony where they were going to go half and half on this new project called Hinchcliffe's Notes. I didn't know that it happened. I thought I was going to the Death Squad secret show. I knew I was going to see Brian Red Band, but I was not planning to see Tony Hinchcliffe. So I get on the bus. The bus driver amazingly didn't even ask for money or anything. I just got on and then just walked halfway back and just stood and held on for dear life as we went about 3 miles down to the Comedy Store. So it was, I couldn't believe, it was very surreal. I couldn't believe it was happening. So I'm on the bus, riding down, takes about 30 minutes to get down to the Comedy Store. We're doing stops. I'm just trying to hold on. And then I get out right at the stop at Kings and Sunset. And it was pretty scary getting off those steps that are halfway back on the bus because I couldn't even see. There's a blind spot between my knee and ankle in that suit where I couldn't even see. So when I took those steps off the halfway back on the bus, when I went out that middle door, I didn't know if I was going to just fall right on the street and collapse. But miraculously, I did a couple steps. I got on the boulevard, and then there was a whole nother thing ahead of me because I had like a block to walk to the Comedy Store, and I didn't know, am I going to get in or, what's going to happen? But the first person I saw, which was unbelievable, was Brody Stevens. He was already standing out in the street, and I walked up to him and said, "Hey, I'm a fan of you. I've seen you on the Death Squad network on several shows." And he was real receptive. He said, "Oh, cool," And I told him I was going up to find Brian Red Band, and he said, "Oh, go. You should probably be able to find him." But he didn't tell me at that moment that he was going to be on the show with me. I didn't even realize he was going to be on that episode of Hinchcliffe's Notes. So I went up, and I was able to I just walked right in the Comedy Store. I walked around back and just walked right in. Nobody messed with me. And all of a sudden I was in the dark hall going down, looking at all the famous pictures of the comedians along the wall. I couldn't, looking up, seeing David Letterman, Jay Leno's picture. I could not believe what I was seeing. And then I had to go up these last stairs to go to the belly room, which was really annoying because it wasn't easy getting up these things. And I could barely see. I'm thinking at this point, how long is this odyssey going to last? Am I ever going to get there? So when I first got up into the belly room and then I saw Brian and Tony, they were kind of smoking in this, or standing back on this walkway that goes out the back of the belly room. And then I started walking toward them and I could see on their face, they couldn't believe what they were seeing. But I'm walking towards them, and just if they would have known what it took for me to get to that moment of just a whole year and a half and even longer of just focusing on Iron Man. So when I got there, they were I just said right away I was a fan of Death Squad, and then Brian Redband immediately made a video of me and put it on Instagram. So right there, that was the beginning of my social media, movement that began, So he put it on Instagram, and then right before the show, Brian Redband even told me that I cheered him up because he knew he needed something extra. I mean, he had Brody, he had Tony, and that was going to be good. And I mean, I know he could have done it without me, but him and Tony were both excited. They knew this was something. This was the 1-2 punch that might take us all into the mainstream. So anyway, I do the show that night on Kill Tony. It was great. It was Brody. I couldn't have asked for any better person to be there than Brody and Tony and Brian. And they didn't really mic me up. I mean, I did my song "Stop in the Name of Love." It was pretty fun, but they didn't really mic me up that good, so I wouldn't heard that much in that first one. But that was Hinchcliffe's Notes #2, and then the next week is when it became Kill Tony. Hello, this is Jeff Crabtree, and welcome to Cooking with Crabber, vlog #1. Today I'm going to show you something simple and inexpensive that you can make that's somewhat healthy. Let's go!